Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld, and today we're going to take a look at some of the reasons some people are choosing not to buy Hardline. The reason I wanted to make this video is because it seems like people are either loving this game or flat out avoiding it. I put out the question on my Twitter, which by the way is BillyEatWorld, and this is just a few of the responses I got back. I don't have time to go through all of the responses, but I think this is a good sample of what people are thinking, and maybe some of you guys watching are thinking the same things. But anyway, to kick off, Gavin Reed writes, "The graphics in Hardline seem like a big step back compared to BF4. I think this is definitely an issue, and I don't think it's something that's likely to be fixed, but that being said, good graphics don't make a good game. It's not that Hardline looks bad either, it's just that it doesn't look quite as good as BF4, but then neither do a lot of FPS games. I can understand why some people have a problem with this, but honestly, I don't see it as a huge problem as long as I'm having fun with the gameplay itself." So, coming in next, Nathan Cordell writes, "It's just not worth the price right now. I love Battlefield, but this game isn't worth the money." I think this is probably the main reason I've heard from people that aren't buying Hardline, and in a way I can understand, but I don't entirely agree. When you think about the time and effort that goes into making a game like this, we actually pay a relatively small price for the amount of entertainment we get back in return. If you don't enjoy the game, that's fine, but if you're getting 20 or 30 hours out of it, you've definitely got your money's worth. Now, this kind of leads me into the next comment from Lachlan Oliver, who writes, "It's got nowhere near as much content as BF4 and it seems like a shitty reskin." This is kind of correct on both accounts, but when you actually get into the game, you realise it's less of a reskin than you might think. It's definitely still got a lot in common with BF4 to make the veterans happy, but it does feel like a different game once you've played it for a few hours. As for the amount of content though, as far as I'm concerned, BF4 probably had too much content, and at the end of the day, I'd rather a smaller game that's easier for the devs to balance. So, next on the list, Leon O'Brien writes, "Not worth the money to me, and honestly it just feels like Metro 24/7. As you can see, the price is a big deal for a lot of people, but the point about Metro 24/7 is something I've also been hearing quite a lot. I'll admit Hardline does feel more cramped on some game modes, especially on TDM, but I don't think it feels like a grind like Operation Metro does. The simple solution to this problem is just to find a game mode that isn't so cramped, and don't worry, there are game modes in Hardline that allow you to play more tactically." Now, next on the list, Squeak writes, "Gunplay doesn't feel like previous Battlefield games and visuals are a real turn-off as well." Both of these points are definitely true to an extent, but I think that's the whole point of this game, because it's trying to do things differently. It seems like people either think this game is a clone of BF4 or a clone of COD, but the fact is, it's neither. It's definitely a cross between these two franchises, but I think it's different enough to be considered something unique, and personally, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So, coming in next, Gabriel Santos writes, "Too overpriced for a game that seems incomplete." I will agree that this game isn't perfect yet, but what AAA multiplayer FPS game is in its first few weeks? Pretty much every major FPS game released in the last year or so has had issues at launch, and that's because it takes millions of people to do a proper stress test. If this is something that worries you, just give it a month or two because you can expect patches to be coming out pretty soon, and the price should drop off as well. So next on the list, Dustin R26 writes, "It really should have been a BF4 expansion as Vietnam was for Bad Company 2. I can see where this is coming from, but at the end of the day, I don't think Hardline would be anything like it is now if it was just a DLC. Honestly, I'm just glad there's a new Battlefield game out there to tide us over until Battlefront or the next game in the series gets released. Most of the DLCs in BF4 died after only a few weeks, and the fact that Hardline has a lot more content makes me think it's going to last quite a bit longer, even if it is a lot more expensive." And finally, to follow on from that last point, Tony SVT writes, "Tired of them throwing out $50 premiums for crap maps. This I kind of agree with, but that being said, I think premium is a relatively low price to pay to get a lot more life out of a game. I think the problem isn't premium itself, it's encouraging people to play DLC maps, and the full map DLC rotations really don't help. I think more people would play DLC maps if there was an official premium rotation, for example, with all of the DLC maps in one, or at least the more popular ones. But anyway guys, that just about wraps up this video, so let me know what you think in the comments section below, and as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see more of my videos, or if you'd like to support my channel on Patreon, and until next time, see you later, and have a good one.